Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 186 of the I Suck at Jiu Jitsu show. So I have a super random one for you guys today, but I made sure there has been a Jiu Jitsu controversy. It's the kind of Rener Gracie controversy, and I made sure to talk about it at the start of this episode. And I normally don't give my opinion on anything like this, but I think my opinion is probably different than what a lot of you guys have heard. And so I thought I would share my opinion. And if you guys don't like it, well, that's okay. You're allowed to have your own opinion. You can keep listening to the podcast if you don't like my opinion. You could quit. It's up to you guys. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I shared that because I do think it is kind of an important topic. And just as the jiu-jitsu space goes this direction, where everyone feels this need to express an opinion, feels this need to have a strong opinion, I just thought I would address it on the podcast. But besides that, I get into so many different things in this episode. Talk about the new studio, have two huge announcements for the future of my life and the future of the show. I really just give a lot of context about the background of the show, what's going to be going on soon, because a lot of people ask and I haven't had answers, and now I just finally do. And so I thought I would just share stuff with you guys, tell you about a lot of the big things that we have going on. Also, I tell you about two new kind of things on the topic of designated winner. I had a better description of it that I gave on a different podcast, and I wanted to make sure to share it with you guys. And I also had a revelation of where designated winner comes from that I referenced on the Chris Payne's episode, but I thought I would explain it a little more today. Man, talk bad about shrimping as I always do. And besides that, yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff. You guys get to hear about the Geek Gazette. You get to hear about Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Headquarters 2.0. The last couple podcasts I've been on, I bash Bryce Allen, which is always good. Shout out Allen Bros Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out Brian Allen for being likable and being raised under the same roof, but not having no value for people or human life. You're the man, Brian. Keep being you, buddy. Anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought. I always do when I start to bash Bryce. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. I make sure to start the episode pretty much with the Rener Gracie controversy because I don't want to be clickbaity, and maybe that's the only reason you're listening to the episode, and I don't want to make you have to search. Let's get into the episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, coming to you from Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Studios 2.0. We're actually not live, but we really are coming to you from Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Studios 2.0. This is recorded. It was live at the time of recording, but at this point that you are listening to it, it is recorded. We're not live. I'm not here. That's also something that people don't realize about the YouTube. I hate to spoil it for you, but when my YouTube videos premiere, I'm not actually live. That's kind of, it's a misconception. Anyway, before I could actually jump into something from there, but before I do, I said I would talk this at the beginning of the episode just so I could address it really quickly, because people have asked me about it. Enough people have asked me about it that I thought it was worth making a bit of a statement, I guess a public statement, because this is my podcast. Because I'm just noticing I'm getting to a point in my podcasting career that people tend to care about my opinion about these things and will seek my opinion about these things. And I will first say that I don't think that my opinion is super relevant in it because it's pretty much my opinion towards everything. But I will still give you guys that opinion. And that controversy I'm talking about is just the Rener Gracie Sinistro controversy that there is in the jiu-jitsu space. If you are not familiar with it, a really quick synopsis is there was a neck injury at a jiu-jitsu school, and Rener Gracie was one of the I guess the accusers, what would you call it? Prosecutors? Yeah, prosecutor, accuser. Wow, that sounded aggressive. The prosecutors, expert witnesses. And he, gave his opinion that it was an unsafe environment for that white belt to be in. A ton of stuff. You guys are aware of it, right? I think that with things like this, normally I just don't ever give my opinion on them at all. I don't ever post on Facebook about them. And the truth is, because most of the time with things like this, I really don't worry about it. And I know that to people in this society, in this day and age where you have to have a strong opinion on everything, that like when things, build up in the jiu-jitsu space and there's this thing that everybody's talking about, generally speaking, I don't talk about it or worry too much about it because to me, one, those things are just not timeless. And so if I'm on my podcast talking about controversy, it really only will matter today. It really will only matter for listens today. And that's not what my focus is on, is worrying about today. But the truth is, when I start to put these opinions on, I think it should have been handled this way, or I think it should have been handled that way. A lot of times what I'm saying is I would have been better qualified to handle this situation. First of all, the situation was terrible no matter what. But the big thing I wanted to come on the podcast and say, and I really, really, really believe this, and that is no matter which side of the situation that you lean towards, it's okay to be indifferent and say, hey, I like Rener Gracie regardless. Or maybe you're indifferent, you're like, I don't like Rener Gracie regardless. But it is okay to just say, like for me, I've gotten the opportunity to meet Rener in person, and I've done seminars with Huron, and I've interviewed Huron on the podcast. And I can honestly say that I have no ill will towards either guy. They're just have both been so nice and so kind in every interaction that I have been in with them. And I just look at this from a different perspective. I look at it from what if my podcast goes the way that I hope, that I think, that I believe it is going to go, and it becomes this big thing. I would really hate for everything that I do and say to be magnified so much, and then everyone feel like they have to have some strong opinion one way or another about Josh. Oh no, you can't listen to Josh McKinney's podcast, the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. He talked bad about Asian people. I'm like, I can make that joke because I'm Asian, of course, right? So you can say whatever you want about your own race. Everybody knows that. But anyway, I say something ignorant like that on the podcast, you get mad, and then it becomes this this political issue, or this issue of Josh has this opinion and we don't share that opinion, so we can't learn from Josh. We can't listen to the show. We can't support anything that he does. To me, that's just such a stupid mindset to have. If somebody's opinion is different from you, you can't learn anything from them. If somebody sees the world differently than you see the world, you can't learn from them. Or if you disagree with something that they believe, you can't learn anything else. I have so many jiu-jitsu relationships, people that I can just talk to, and I wouldn't necessarily call them like my close friends or something like that, but people that I can be cordial with and I get to learn so much stuff from all the time. And it is simply because I haven't I haven't jumped to one side or the other and have some strong opinion on somebody, unless they gave me, of course, a reason to. But I guess this is all to say this whole little, what are we at, 6-minute rant that I just had on the Rener Gracie controversy and how I don't stress about it. And the reason I felt mentioning this is I had a few different students that I know subscribe to Gracie University and really get a lot of value out of those products and have learned a lot of great jiu-jitsu lessons, which a lot of times are great life lessons from Rener Gracie. And they were some of the people reaching out and asking my opinion on the situation. And why do you think that they ask my opinion on the situation? It's because all of their friends on Facebook were speaking so harshly one way, and whether they were right or wrong, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying how things are delivered through social media, and how there is this weird social pressure that you have to have a strong opinion about everything, especially whatever the media tells us, whatever Facebook's algorithm tells us, whatever tells us to think about or to be talking about at that time. First of all, I would just rather pay attention to the timeless jiu-jitsu things. I would rather be in the place that I came to for fun and continue to have fun, and to not make this like work, and to not make this like politics, and to not make this like everything else in the world seems to be going towards, where your opinion is so important. Honestly, the opinions that I express on this show, most of them aren't very important at all. And they're specifically jiu-jitsu opinions. Of course, the training methods, designated winner, that's super important. We all know that, right? But anyway, yeah, I guess that's just a long way of saying I had students that really learned a lot of jiu-jitsu, and people are bashing the jiu-jitsu on Facebook that my students learned online simply because somebody did something in court. So to me, all I'm saying is it's okay to be opinionated on one side or the other, of course. Not that opinions don't matter, and, it's not important that we get to have opinions. It is. But you don't have to. You're allowed to be indifferent and keep paying for your Gracie University subscription. You're allowed to be indifferent to these things. You're allowed to not care that the jiu-jitsu athletes that you watch, that a lot of them are on steroids, and there's this controversy between steroid users and non-steroid users. Should you be allowed to, and shouldn't you? And this is something that I'll even express my opinion about on the podcast sometimes. But the truth is, when we're dealing in these big absolutes that we love to deal in nowadays, and maybe have forever, I don't know. I've only been around for a short period. But when we do that, it can turn jiu-jitsu into, or at least it can make jiu-jitsu the things that we hate about our everyday lives, the things that we hate about our jobs, the things that we hate about the people that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But I think that, I just wanted to remind you guys, it's okay to not have any opinion at all, and to not be worried about what's happening in, a different part of the state, or for some people, a different country. And in a jiu-jitsu school, there are a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, and there's going to be a lot more stories like this and things like these things happening, things even bigger than this. But no, it's okay to say, hey, jiu-jitsu saved my life. I love it. I have so much fun with it. I don't want to focus on that stuff. I want to focus on jiu-jitsu. It's totally okay. Let's move on. So, like I told you guys, I'm in Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Headquarters 2.0. I think that, 1.0 pretty much just stayed 1.0 and then eventually became 2.0. I think 2.0 is going to have a lot of, renditions, like 2.1, 2.11, 2. Wait, would you go 2.1, or would you go all the way up from 2. Yeah, so you go 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, all the way to 2.9, and then it would be 2.10, right? Because that's how math works and numbers work, right? Oh my gosh. I wasn't even going to do this episode. This is a redo episode, which I've probably done 4 times ever out of 180 plus episodes on the show. But I just recorded this because I didn't think I was going to have time today to record it. I recorded it a couple days ago after I was on a podcast. And I think I was pretty exhausted, and I was trying to edit this morning. And I was like, this sucks. I'm basically reiterating stuff that was talked about on that other podcast just over and over again because I'm tired. So yeah, that's why you guys are hearing what I'm talking about right now. Anyway, yeah, I've been on a few podcasts lately. This is obviously, I'm sure the title says it, and I'm sure I said it in the intro. but this is obviously a random show. There's going to be some jiu-jitsu mixed in, but I really just have random topics. These aren't even random questions that I've been getting. These are just going to be random topics. But anyway, I just talked about Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu 2.0. Actually just went to, I guess I should have asked if I was allowed to like verbalize or if I was doing something illegal by being there. But let's just say one of my jiu-jitsu architect friends took me to some really amazing state-of-the-art studios that he helped design recently. I'll give him a proper shout out once I get his approval, like next week. But I just got to look at some ideas, steal some ideas, the same stuff I would do if I got to go to the best jiu-jitsu spaces, right? And it was super, super cool. It was unbelievably cool to see some of this stuff and to kind of get to compare it to what I have in Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Studios. But that also brings me to a point that I really haven't talked about why this rebuild has happened. I've just kind of hinted at it a few times, but I thought I would give you guys a little glimpse into the future. And I hope that this part of the episode doesn't start to sound like an ad, but I just am doing so many new interesting things that are going to help people learn jiu-jitsu faster and better. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm mentioning these things and you not be like, oh my gosh, what's the Gi Gazette? I didn't know about this. This is ridiculous. And then you like, I don't know, smash your phone that you're playing the podcast on or something like that. I don't want you guys to have to incur those bills. Anyway, holy cow. I should have just used the other episode. Dang. What did I want to talk about that? Oh yeah. So the start of new studio, new me is going to be just the ability that we have to record in-person podcasts and for them to sound and look really good. And so that is with the help of the worst human being that I know, executive producer Bryce Allen. Shout out Allen Bros Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out Brian Allen for just putting up with this guy for as long as you have and being a sane person afterwards. Man, I can't even explain to you guys how much I don't like Bryce Allen. Anyway, there's actually, if you guys want to hear more about me not liking Bryce Allen, Roll Radio. I just did an episode with them. That's the episode I just referenced a couple minutes ago. I just did an episode with them and we talk all kinds of cool jiu-jitsu stuff, a lot about my story of kind of coming into jiu-jitsu. They asked me some really good questions that I've never really thought of. But honestly, the main thing we talk about is how much I don't like Bryce. And I don't know how that even happened, but I get to like the 80% mark on this podcast. And I've barely talked about anything but my disdain for Bryce Allen, and they have been loving it. They've been laughing, and so I'm just like encouraged, and I just keep going. And so I just want to, because I don't want to lose my producer, I just want to issue a public apology for that episode that comes out next Wednesday. Roll Radio. You guys will like it, but Bryce won't. It's pretty rough. I apologize, Bryce. You're the best. Also on the podcast, on the topic of podcasts, I was just on BJJ Mental Models, and if you guys don't know what BJJ Mental Models is, really, I think it's one of the biggest podcasts in the jiu-jitsu space. I don't know that to be sure, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident. And it is, the experience was really cool. Learned a ton being around such a high level podcaster. Not that all the other people I've gotten to be around recently aren't, but I just really noticed the professionalism on that show. It made me go, oh my gosh, I don't do any of this stuff. But it was just a really cool experience. But I also get to talk about Designated Winner, and I really discuss it in detail. I give a few things that I don't think I've given on the other episodes. I think I had like a new description of Designated Winner that makes it a little easier to understand what it actually is. And I've even actually, on that Chris Payne's episode, I think we referenced that BJJ Mental Models episode that hadn't come out yet a few different times. But anyway, that just came out. I really think you guys would enjoy it. If you guys listen on YouTube or something, drop a comment. Let people know that you enjoy Josh McKinney dropping Designated Winner stuff. Hashtag DW for life. When you spell life and 4 on DW for life, it's like the number 4 and it's LYFE, just so you know. Just so you don't look like a weirdo spelling it wrong. What else? So those 2 podcasts. Oh, this is where I was going with that. So we have a new episode release schedule. As you guys have, if you've been around the last 2 weeks, you've heard it. But I just wanted to make sure I clarified what it was going to be and why it was going to be. Obviously, with the new studio, we're able to put out so many more interviews. Like right now, and this has never happened before, I have like 7 interviews in waiting, ready to be released. And so there was no way I was going to be able to do every Thursday or every other Thursday release an interview and then every other Thursday release a solo episode. And so I thought what the move is to move to every Tuesday being a new interview and every Thursday being a solo episode. And I just thought I could keep those, I don't know, I thought I could keep those consistent. And I'm at a point because of the new studio that I'll be able to do that. And eventually at the new studio, I'm going to give you guys this. I'm only going to reference it on this episode. So, because if you're listening to a random show where I'm talking about episode schedule release and stuff like that, I'm thinking that you're a fan of the I Suck at Jiu Jitsu show. And so if you're a fan of the I Suck at Jiu Jitsu show, I want to always give you guys something good, right? And we're going to be able to do that so much better with a new thing that maybe is going to be out in, I don't know. I don't even want to put a time frame on it. It'll be a while, like 6 months, 17 years, who knows? But at some point, we're going to start something called our simplified sessions. And so Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu is the banner that I release my jiu-jitsu instructionals under. And we kind of want to do a few new things with Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu soon. But simplified sessions are going to be like either an hour or a 90-minute seminar. I get access to so many cool people, and we'll record on like a Saturday morning. And I've always thought, man, if we could just switch the cameras, press a few buttons, and the studio was set up enough that we could go right into recording jiu-jitsu content, we could record jiu-jitsu content. Well, eventually that idea started to morph when we got the switcher that we have for our video and stuff for the podcast now, because it has so much capability for things like Facebook and YouTube Live. And so what we're going to do is, whether it's once a month to start something like that, we're going to start doing simplified sessions, and they're going to be free, and they're going to be on YouTube and Facebook. We're probably not going to keep them on YouTube and Facebook. The only way to enjoy them freely would be to watch them on the time that we tell you to release. But that is something coming in the future. And I know you're like, okay, Josh, coming in the future, how can I find more things that are coming in the future? Well, I'm glad that you ask. I've been throwing out a lot of questions that you should be asking. But I'm not fully sure if you guys are actually asking these questions, but I'll answer them anyway because that's who I am. So the Gi Gazette. First off, since I'm giving you guys a peek in the background of everything, I didn't come up with the name Gi Gazette. ChatGPT came up with the name Gi Gazette, but I really liked it. I really thought I would run with it. So I've had an email list with Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu for a very long time now, probably like 3 years. And it has been, it's been really fun to learn how to, learn how to do it. Learn how to write a little bit and, just get better at writing and communicating what I want to communicate. But also there's a lot of interaction on it. A lot of people respond to the things that I send out, and I get to have conversations with people that listen to the show. And I also get to, I get to get a lot more episode suggestions because it just keeps it on the forefront of people's mind, I guess. And these come out more than once every Thursday, right? But the Gi Gazette is my email list. I always tell you guys about the 3 Lenses ebook. That's absolutely free, and apparently I'm doing the commercial mid-roll in this episode, but it's absolutely free. You can only get it at simplifyingjujitsu.com/3. If you want to look at the 3 perspectives that most people learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through, you absolutely need the 3 Lenses. That is only available at simplifyingjujitsu.com, and it is absolutely free. Again, the link is simplifyingjujitsu.com/3. Anyway, the reason that I always push that ebook, the reason that that is the one ad that there ever is on the podcast, and I'm not, doing an ad for some other company or something like that, is because that email list is really fun for me, and it's produced like more opportunity for me than most anything else. And so if you are not part of the Gi Gazette, the way to do it is to get the 3 Lenses ebook. And it is absolutely worth it. The ebook is worth it itself. But even if you don't want to read the ebook, it's worth getting on the Gi Gazette and seeing when we are going to be releasing the simplified sessions, and when we're going to start the schedule with it, when we're going to start to release, because this space that I am speaking to you in, Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu Studios 2.0, has been built to create jiu-jitsu content, not just podcasts. It's got a really perfect space for showing jiu-jitsu technique and ideas, and we're going to start doing that. But the best way to be aware of what we're doing, the best way to be aware when I'm on a new podcast, to be aware of any of these things, is going to be being a part of the Gi Gazette, because I live in 2007 and I don't like social media very much. And I will share some things on social media, but I'm just really bad about it. I told you guys at the top, before we get into the huge announcement. Oh, shoot, I have 2 announcements. I don't want to say that they're both the same level of size, but to you guys, they are. Yeah, let's just get into, let's go announcement 1. And then we'll go announcement 2 at the end of the episode, just to keep you guys on your feet. So, big collaboration. If you follow me on the gram, actually, you know both of these announcements, but you don't know any of the details of this one. My friends, my sponsor, Imposed Will, who Adam wrong guy. He's been on the podcast before too. Adam Meredith, who runs Imposed will be on the podcast next Tuesday, on our Tuesday episode release, and we talk a lot of Imposed Will. We talk a lot of what the company is, so I don't want to give you guys some big background of what it is right now. That's mainly what that episode is about. And so what we mainly focus on, though, is this collaboration that we decided to do. And it was after I told you guys about, I think the event was Strange Hands, and I told you guys how that event went and just all about it. But who put the event on was Imposed Will. And Adam's just looking for new avenues. He's looking for new things to do. And he came up with the idea like, hey, Josh, we should do a rash guard short collaboration, a no-gi set, if you will, collaboration. And I was kind of like, okay, that doesn't sound like anything I really care too much about, because, who would wear a Josh McKinney something? And then he's like, well, we do the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. And I was like, oh, that is a good idea. That's a really good idea. And so, of course, there are some Josh McKinney personality things on this rash guard set. And we will not be sharing that rash guard set with you guys until next Tuesday. I think the pre-sale actually will go out next Monday, but next Tuesday, this pre-sale is going to be live. And their only way to get these is going to be the 2-week pre-sale that we do. They're not going to be on any, we're not going to keep stock of them. And so, if you guys want the first ever anything with the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show logo on it, you want these sets, man. We actually are going to do 2. They kind of, I don't know, Imposed Will's been really fun to work with, because they kind of let me do whatever I want. And so, and you guys know that I love to do whatever I want. And so they have, they just kind of helped me out and let me pick 2 different sets, and man, they are so cool. I just can't get over how cool these no-gi sets have been. And so, man, so excited about that. Let's talk. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we talked about it on the Chris Payne's podcast. I actually wrote in my notes just to bring it up again, because maybe somebody missed that episode. This is one of the big breakthroughs that we've had in designated winner in recent memory, and that is where it comes from and why so many schools find it. And like, that's what, like I said, this BJJ Mental Models episode just comes out, and people start to, of course, they start to message me and say, oh, really liked the episode. But the main message that I've gotten so far is, loved the episode. We do something similar at my school, or we do the same thing at my school. And so to me, it really was a thing that I go, oh, there are, it's probably not a very big percentage, but there is a percentage of schools doing something similar to this. And that was why I wanted to share it on the podcast. And then I wanted to go on other people's podcasts and try to share it, because I think that this training method is super effective. And, but the question was not really in how effective it was. I think a big question that there was then is, just like I said, you guys have been asking me questions and I've been answering them, but I've been the one asking the questions. You guys are probably in your car right now going, yeah, but Josh, where the heck did designated winner come from? Why do so many schools find that that is a better way to learn, or a more efficient way to learn, or just a very good addition in the tools of training method? So my opinion is this: when you start to become really good at jiu-jitsu, really good at grappling, and this is something that I hope everyone listening to the show gets to experience one day. I have a student, John Tice, and John, he's like, he's kind of like a jiu-jitsu George Costanza, if I'm being honest. He's always got some outlandish opinion. It's always funny, and it a lot of times it's true, but it's just stuff that people wouldn't say. One time we're at the gas station, and John is, or actually we're leaving Kyle's, my coach's gym. We just had trained really hard. It's the middle of the summer. It's 1,000,000 degrees, and John is like, dude, we got to go to the gas station. I need some water. I'm dying of thirst, because that's how John is. He's dying. You know George Costanza. Anyway, I go into the gas station, and I get like a protein shake, and I get water. And I'm walking over to check out, and I see John, and he has 3 bottles of Gatorade in his hand, no water. And I go, John, why don't you have water, dude? He looks at me and he says, water's too expensive for being water. Who would say something like that? Who would? He just made me stop for water, specifically said, and now water is, anyway. Yeah, John. But anyway, he always says this thing of like, and he says it in a derogatory way, but also an uplifting way. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment. He's like, Josh just doesn't get it. Imagine how cool it would be to be able to just go into gyms and just know, yeah, I'm going to be able to win every round in this gym. And just to go all around and just to walk into gyms, you're like, yeah, I'm going to win every round in this gym. And it's something that as you start to get good, and this is not just something from my experience. I know a lot of people that are insanely good at jiu-jitsu. As you start to get good, you stop caring about being good. You just like can go and train. And that's because most of your rounds that you end up doing, you're doing with blue, you're doing with purple belts, you're doing with white belts. And not that like all black belts can beat purple belts. We know that that is not the case. But really, really good black belts tend to be really hard for anybody to beat besides really, really good black belts. There is just this level. I've told you guys this about getting to compete at adult black belt and experience grappling some of the best guys in the world. It's crazy how good I can be feeling and how I can be like, wow, this guy, he's even more on than I am. He's even sharper than I am. And like seeing it in real life, it's the most bizarre thing to me, seeing how fast it's something like I have to try to actively not think about in these rounds, but especially like competing at middleweight where the guy's a little smaller now. Man, the speed of the game is like watching a movie on fast forward. And, but anyway, that all being said, I hope that one day you guys get to experience being really, really good at grappling and, it being like someone new comes in and they roll with you, and you know we could roll for 10,000 hours and there's nothing that they could do with me. And then a blue belt comes in and then know that same thing. And like be able to do that up the chain with people. It's something that I can kind of feel, but it's something I've seen my friends like really be able to experience and do. And it's unbelievable. What it does is it actually makes you better at jiu-jitsu. What? Being good makes you better at jiu-jitsu? Yes, there is this certain level. And if you watch, there are certain guys that do it. They can roll at like 20, 30, 40%. And even though the blue belt that they're going with is going 100%, it doesn't matter that this guy's able to just be super smooth. He's just being effortless with his jiu-jitsu. We've talked about this before. I've told you guys about the conversation I had with Sean Williams about roll without strength. What's really, really interesting is even if you're never told that, really good guys tend to start to find that. Because if you're really good and you're rolling with somebody who isn't, and you go hard, you are going to just like really rough them up. It's going to be brutal. And one, you need training partners, and so you don't want to do this. Two, most likely, hopefully, you're not a jerk, and so you don't want to do this. And then three, it doesn't help you that much to go that hard. You miss a lot of the good jiu-jitsu you could have been doing. What starts to happen is you start to become effortless in your jiu-jitsu training. So that's almost as if every round that you're doing from there on out that's not with another high-level guy is designated winner. It's a round that you go into and you know there is nothing that this guy can do to me. I win every time. And then you start to practice what you want to practice. And jiu-jitsu is just more about you developing your skills on people that could never beat you. You know, that's how you're getting better, is you're rolling more effortlessly. You're trying to roll smoother and smoother. But you really are, to some extent. Of course, you could get caught. Of course, you could make mistakes. Of course, you sleep on anybody and they could put you in a really bad, compromising spot. But you really do start to get to play designated winner in most of your rounds, like live rounds. And so if I didn't clarify what designated winner is, the description I gave on mental models I really liked was it's a positional spar with one person winning every time and the other person giving a certain level of resistance, a certain percentage of resistance, or a certain type of resistance. And so, yes, for us, like with designated winner, you think that's like if I'm positional sparring with guys that I know I'm going to beat and their 100% is like my 40%, I'm playing designated winner. If I'm doing that in a live round, if their 40% is or their 100% is my 40%, same thing. I'm going to win those rounds. And I'm going to get better because I'm getting reps playing offense. And I'm getting reps against a very strong resisting opponent. And so that is all to say those are the new thoughts on designated winner that there are right now. I always want to keep you guys informed on where designated winner is at. And hopefully by naming it, I am going to get a lot of people telling me information. But that's something that I don't get enough of, is people telling me their implementation of designated winner. It's weird. Like the guys that do tell me are people that are like friends of the podcast and stuff, like people that I train with. And those are the people that give me the most feedback. I think there is either people don't email anymore and I only ask people for emails. And so that's why, or yeah, I don't know. I just don't get enough response from you guys on if designated winner is working or not working for you. I haven't had anybody really have any problems with it. I've had a lot of people enjoy it, but I just think the amount of people that are probably doing it is more than have told me. And I just am curious as to, maybe you found some certain things to work. Maybe you found some certain ways to work certain things. And if you tell me, I can add it to my big part of my process and how I do it, and I can understand it better. And then I can try to simplify it for you guys on the podcast. And everybody wins. And so if that is interesting to you, if you want to let me know how Designated Winner is going, send me an email, josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. If you want to let me know anything, send me an email, josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. I don't love Instagram as much. It's not my favorite. And so a lot of stuff I tend to miss for like months on Instagram, or at least a month. And then I was like, oh, wow, so I guess I won't be teaching at your school next week. I'm sorry. And that is also, if you wanted to have me in for a seminar, that would be how you would contact me, josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. Also, with seminars, I guarantee you that because I'm from the Midwest, where my housing is 1/16 of the housing, cost that yours is, most likely, I'm probably cheaper for a seminar than you would expect. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's asking way too much. He sucks at jiu-jitsu. Should have branded that better. Dang. Anyway, someone was asking me about shrimping today, and so I was ranting about it. So I thought I would share this rant with you guys. And it was shared as that there are these fundamental movements that someone needs to be able to perform to, I don't know, get better at jiu-jitsu, or to be good at jiu-jitsu or something like that. And like they listed a few movements, and I was like, yeah, none of our blue belts could do that. Like or like they would have to be explained, and I'm sure they could do it easily, but they would have to be explained what those things even are. Because to me, you're only ever doing jiu-jitsu with another person. And so movements that you're needing to do without another person, and of course, there are going to be some things that are helpful. I don't want to just blanket and say, yeah, they're never helpful. But to me, I just don't think they are ever as helpful as a normal person. And the fact that we will have jiu-jitsu classes with 30 people and make all of them get into rows of 15 and line up and strip down the mat doesn't make sense to me. These guys could actually be doing real escapes from mount or side control that, if you watch the movement side by side, is not the same thing. It is not the same movement. You have to, distance is so much more important, and it is delivered in a different direction when you are escaping side control properly, like doing a quote unquote shrimp escape. So it's not the same thing. It would be so much more effective to let them spend that 10 minutes each class drilling, designated winning, anything in a position that actually happens in jiu-jitsu, a movement that actually happens in jiu-jitsu. So all that to say, shrimping is not a foundational movement of jiu-jitsu. I dare say, I don't know of any foundational movements, meaning if you do not have this, jiu-jitsu will be impossible for you, or jiu-jitsu will not work for you. I don't know of any. I know of things that make jiu-jitsu easier, for sure. But I don't know of any like foundational movement, anything that can't be understood explained in a certain way, understood in a certain way, that you couldn't figure out a way around it, even if you couldn't touch your toes. It's probably not good for you to be doing something so violent when you can't touch your toes and people are trying to stretch you and move you in all those directions. You should probably stretch. But I don't think that would be essential for you getting your blue belt or purple belt, is being able to touch your toes. I think you could do jiu-jitsu without that. And my argument is that my students have never done shrimps from I don't even know if I've ever had any of my guys that I just promoted to brown belt, which is like one of my first crops that is only under me. They started from white belt and they're all the way to brown belt. I've had a school for a little over 7 years. And so that's about where we're at. Those white belts that were with me in that first bit of time, our brown belt are getting really close, right? And I don't know if any of them have ever shrimped up and down a mat. And I guarantee you that most people, that probably 90% of their people, or people at their belt, would have trouble holding them down in side control or mount. And it's not because I'm this phenomenal coach. It's because the math didn't add up. And I said, maybe we should just spend more time escaping and understanding side control and mount than doing this movement. And I don't know. I think it's been helpful. It's been helpful for me a lot. Really only have one other thing to tell you guys about. Long episode. Feel like I barely talked about anything. A little designated winner, little rash guard, little controversy. Maybe I did talk about a lot of stuff. I was just rambling. Who knows? There's only one thing that hasn't been crossed off the list. And it is, if you guys, like I said, if you do follow me on Instagram, you already know this. But my wife, Emily, and I just announced that we are, well, not we, she is pregnant. And it's my baby. And I am the father of the baby. And so just wanted to make sure that you guys knew. And so if you're just ever like, 6 months from now, if you're like, man, why does Josh always sound so tired and angry on the podcast? Baby. You know what I'm saying? That happens. But yeah, my wife is due in October. It's going to be our first child. We do not know if it's a boy or a girl yet. And no, we're not going to be surprised. Of course, I don't want to be surprised. There's been enough surprises. You know what I'm saying? I'm just joking. Our child was planned, not to give you guys too much into my personal life, but it was. We're very excited. And we're going to let you guys choose the name. I'm just joking. We're not going to do that. We're going to choose the name. And it's not going to be anything weird either. And there's no offense to any of you guys whose kids have weird names, but just know your kid has a weird name. And my kid's going to be named like Mark or something, and he's going to beat up your kid. I don't know. That sounded aggressive. Man, how not cut out for fatherhood was that. Been weird. It's been weird this last little bit, knowing that I'm going to be a dad. You watch all the shows that or movies that you've always watched from the child or the son's perspective, and all of a sudden you're the dad, and it's weird. But yeah, I've been asking certain ones of my friends, certain jiu-jitsu people. I'll share a few of their answers because they're fun. But you always tell your friends first, your family first, and your friends. And as I've told certain friends, the question that always comes up for me that I always ask is, what is something that you weren't expecting that happened, that you just didn't anticipate that happened? Because my theory is, if I ask enough people this, eventually I'm going to be like, well, I know all of the frequently asked questions, the frequent scares. And maybe that's a terrible way to look at it. If you're a good father, let me know. Help me out here. Send me a message. Josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. I'm not freaking out or anything. But, shoot, I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, anyway, regardless, I just been asking friends, hey, what are some things that you don't expect, for fatherhood? Chris Payne's had a really funny one. He was like, we were driving home from the hospital, and he's like, and anyone who would come within 50 feet of my car, I wanted to murder. He's like, not like, oh man, you need to stay away. He's like, I literally wanted to kill these people for being so close to my wife and my new baby. Like, don't even get close to them. And I thought that was fun. That was a really fun one. I want to say, a few guys, actually probably 10 different guys have told me this. And I was asking this when we were starting to plan on having a kid, and that same question. And the answer I got quite a few times was, nothing was about me anymore. And that was just so surprising, is like, it wasn't me first anymore. It's this kid. And so I've gotten a ton of great advice. If you have anything to let me know of, anything I'm not aware of when it comes to kids, especially when it comes to putting kids on steroids at 12 years old and making them jiu-jitsu world champions. Let me know if you guys have any info on that. Wink, wink. Anybody who knows the DL, let me know. No, that's something I think about, is like, man, what if my kid doesn't like jiu-jitsu? What if my kid doesn't want to train? Is like, I think you probably, at least for me, I probably would care a little more if it's a girl. And she's like, no, I don't want to train, because there is a level of safety and confidence I really care for my daughter to have. But even a boy, I'm sure that would be tough. I need to ask my friends whose kids don't train that are black belts. I need to ask them how they deal with that, because I'm sure that's a thing. I'm sure that's something that a lot of black belts struggle with too. But yeah, I think if my kid has a passion for anything, I think I'm cool with it. Of course, I want my child to share my passion, just in the same sense that I know how helpful it can be. Same reason that I love that my wife is a blue belt now. We're gonna have to do an episode on pregnancy and trying to train and stuff. That would be, and of course gym management, because she runs our gym too. But anyway, it's been so fun to experience teaching or learning jiu-jitsu with her and teaching jiu-jitsu to her, because I know how just generally helpful jiu-jitsu can be for somebody. I've gotten to experience it and see it and live it so many different times. And so since I've seen that and experienced those things, I'm kind of I know that I know this is going to be helpful. I know it's going to be fun for you to experience it with me. So I hope that I get to do that with my children, if I have children. But it's not a deal breaker. I won't get rid of the kid. If not, I don't think. I'll try to make that judgment. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I'm sure. But anyway, speaking of my family, I'll leave you guys with this. Like I said, this episode feels a little bit like a long ad, but it really is little bits of jiu-jitsu, very randomness, things that have been on my mind a lot lately. And sometimes the things that are on my mind a lot lately are producing jiu-jitsu content. But every once in a while, I get to produce non-jiu-jitsu content, and that's really fun for me too. And so I have this interview with my mom that I want to share with you guys, and I'll just link it in the description of this episode. It's 7.5 minutes long. It's on YouTube. You're guaranteed to go, there's no way that's your mom. And then go, wait, Josh is 30? His mom looks 30. No way that you're not going to do that. But after you do that, I really think you could listen to the message that is delivered. So every year I help with a telethon that for my mom's nonprofit, Mission 111. Mission 111 is super, super amazing organization. It's been around for 20 years, and they just celebrated having raised and used for needy people, I think over the 20 years, $1.2 million. And this is like I said, this is a nonprofit that my mom who grew up in the Philippines until she was 9 years old, and then moved here, that, she started when she was, 20 years ago. And it was just this vision that she had, and she has been working with it and towards it. And we do this telethon every year, and it's our biggest fundraiser. And I am the MC of the telethon. And I know that that's not enough to get you guys to watch. So if you guys were interested and you didn't have anything to do this Sunday night, it's free on Facebook and YouTube Live. It's 2.5 hours long. All you have to do is go to Mission 111, and it has all the mission111.org. It has all the information. I'll link everything including this interview. I'll link everything in the description of this episode. But I have first of all, the interview is very fun with my mom, and it just gives a little more information on Mission 111. But the night of the telethon is kind of music. It's explanation of where this organization is going, where it's been, where it's trying to get to. And it's mainly, though, fun. It's mainly this thing to kind of celebrate and enjoy, because this organization helps people year round, and I get to be kind of the face of it for a night when people watch and act like I'm helping in it. But the truth is, I only help with this event. I'm not involved. So that should let you know that your money is safe. I have no involvement in any organization. Anyway, there's going to be a showdown between 4 black belts at the telethon. And it is not going to be a jiu-jitsu showdown. It is going to be on a team. Kyle Watson, my coach, longtime coach, Kyle Watson, big friend of the show, been on multiple times, will be on in 2 Tuesdays from now. And Steve McKinney, You guys know him, my dad. Also been on the show a bunch of times. I don't have a time for him to be on the show yet. It'll depend on if we're hostile towards each other after how this showdown goes. On the other side is your boy, your pal, Josh McKinney, and my boy, my pal, Junior Silva. Okay, also been on the show, also will be on with Kyle in 2 weeks. But anyway, we're doing a dad joke showdown. If you guys have ever seen the show Silent Library, it was all about like not laughing. That's going to be the context of the game. It's going to be face-to-face, me versus Kyle first or something like that. We look at each other, and then we deliver dad jokes until someone laughs. If someone laughs, their team loses the round. If you lose the round, you have to eat one of the Bean Boozled jelly beans and donate $1 to Mission 111. And so that is the showdown that there is. It is a dad joke showdown. I don't know. If I knew, I would let you guys know what part of the show it would be in, but I don't know yet. But I can tell you this. I'll let you know when I know on the Gi Gazette, which you can only get on by signing up for the 3 Lenses ebook, simplifyingjujitsu.com/3. But that's all I have for you guys today. I rambled on enough for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's take it to Josh to close us out. And that is the episode. Thank you guys for checking out today's episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. I really tried my best to make sure that I was careful with the whole controversy thing, because I never do that. But yeah, I'm glad with how it turned out, I think. We'll see if people hate me because I shared my opinion. I get that too. It's okay. That's okay. A lot of people hate me. I get it. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I think that I pretty much, this whole episode was kind of like a really long outro where I'm just telling you guys about all the new things that are going on. And yeah, so I don't have anything new to tell you guys about. Hope you guys liked this one. I will be back this Tuesday, next Tuesday, whenever you guys want to call it, with Adam Meredith, the owner of Imposed Will, and we will be dropping new commercial and obviously you can guess what the commercial's about, but a new rash guard set. The commercial gets opinionated and it gets political, but it's really funny and I think you guys will really like it. And I think you guys will like that episode. It's a pretty fun, relaxed episode, and just talk about passion and rash guards, man. You guys will enjoy it. But that's all I have for you. I hope you guys liked today's episode. I hope the random show wasn't too random for you. And most importantly, I hope that today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys.